It's a Halloween night. Benjamin Richards is witnessing his uncle's attempt to activate the wormhole spotter, his latest invention.
Alien Incident was a point-and-click adventure game made by the Finnish company Housemarque in 1996 for MS-DOS. If you think it's weird that a game company was still making DOS games in the late 90s, you wouldn't be the only one. This was the first adventure game I ever played, and I also consider it to be the first full-on computer game I ever played. Sure, I had the Lion King animated storybook and a Yugo game, which both ran straight off the CD, but I never considered them quote-unquote real games. In fact, Alien Incident was quite a beast to get to run because my dad had no idea how to work MS-DOS, and we had to call in our computer-savvy grandpa to help. In fact, the game's still hard to get to run since you can only do it with the DOSBox emulator. But enough meandering, let's get to the game.
What's this thing supposed to do anyway?
I have no idea.
Okay, pull the switch.
You're Ben, the most 90s of all 90s teenagers. Your uncle is a crazy inventor who pulls a bunch of aliens from beyond space and time through a wormhole and gets abducted.
Whoever's responsible for this is going to pay dearly, but not before they get us back. Take a shuttle and bring me the one that did this. And the rest of you, scan the entire planet if you have to, but find me the entity.
The aliens are after a glowing entity which escapes through the wormhole your uncle created to Earth. As Ben, you have to traverse the creepy surroundings of your uncle's mansion, find the entity, build a teleporter with the help of a crazy old man living in a tree, and stop the aliens, who decide that if they can't get home, they'll just conquer the Earth instead. This game might actually be one of the earliest examples of an adventure game that was made by fans of the genre, and you can easily spot a lot of influences of other notable titles like Monkey Island and the Sierra games. You can't die, thankfully, but there is one spot in the game where it's possible to get stuck if you enter the alien ship without wearing a jack-o'-lantern as a disguise. One of the things I really liked about the game, even as a kid, was how simple the interface was. You use the left mouse button to walk from place to place, and you use the right button to interact. In my view, this is much better than a lot of old-school adventure titles, where you always had to pick the actions from an excessively large verb bar. Also, the game actually is a lot easier than most adventure games, which probably explains why I was able to beat it at a relatively early phase in my adventure gaming days, and yes, entirely without walkthroughs or anything like that. The game has a heavy inventory-emphasized approach, and you'll notice that Ben's pockets start to get full of inventory very quickly. Because of this, you'll easily find the items you need to progress long before you encounter the puzzle which requires you to use them. There are a few pixel hunter-ish moments in the game, but probably because I was young and just had a lot of time on my hands, I never got deterred by moments like this. The only bad thing is that your inventory is at the bottom of the screen and you can only see one row of items at a time. It seems convenient at first, but you'll soon realize that Ben never discards the inventory items he's already used, so the inventory gets quite cluttered after a while. Also, you'll notice while playing the game with English subtitles that the creators weren't natively fluent, and there definitely are some grammatical mistakes, as well as some words which aren't words at all. Also, the Finnish dialogue seems to be a whole lot more tongue-in-cheek, which just makes me wish that they had hired a native translator for the game. What's funny is that there's voice acting in the intro, but not in the actual game. Even as a kid, I found that a bit odd. And the voice acting is so good that it's a shame that the characters only speak through text for the rest of the game.
You could have rung the doorbell, you know.
The doorbell's broken.
Oh, yes, that's right. I have to fix that sometime. Anyway, this is not a good time for trick-or-treat, kids. I'm very busy right now.
That's not what we're here for. Are you responsible for opening a wormhole in space a few minutes ago?
It worked? That's wonderful! Wait a minute. How do you know about the wormhole?
This is our guy. Grab him!
Even though this is a DOS game, there's a lot of attention to detail, and the cutscenes in particular are great. There's just generally a great atmosphere to the game. I used to love playing it with the lights turned low as a kid. It just gave you the perfect Halloween feeling. Some of the graphic choices are a bit iffy, and for instance, once you leave the mansion, it can get a bit difficult to see where the paths your character can walk on are. Also, this might be just DOSBox messing up, but Ben also occasionally turns to the wrong direction and sometimes his mouth doesn't move during dialogue scenes. But these are minor flaws in the game's design. The music is excellent and atmospheric. It really keeps up the mood of the game through the entire thing. Along with some of the locations, I gotta admit, the game kinda creeped me out from time to time, but I also loved exploring the environments and discovering solutions to puzzles. Indeed, this game is the reason I love adventure games so much, and it seems that despite its flaws, almost everyone who's ever played the game seems to universally love it. Now, I'm not gonna deny, the setting is pretty cliche, Ben is a pretty generic character, and there's a lot of derivative material from other games and even movies, particularly Star Wars. However, it's a fun and easy adventure game with a lot of attitude. The only thing I wish is that there would have been more moments where you talk to people, but then again, some might find that being able to just solve the puzzles and move on is a lot more satisfying. Now, I'd recommend giving this game a try if you were looking for what I'd call a really good beginner level adventure game, but not only is the game pretty difficult to get a hold of, it's also a little complicated to run. So instead, what you can do is go to Good Old Games and put up a vote for having this game added to their catalog through the community wishlist. Links to that down below. And that's all for me for now. I'm Hannu the Hande Mäkinen. See you on the next one.
There doesn't seem to be anybody there.
Maybe the doorbell doesn't work. We should get back to the ship. The door's open, you fools! Let's go!